archaeology. Get out of there, Dan.
Lights are these fluorescents? I think
yeah.
so. I don't know. I got them on eBay. I mean, Amazon.
They totally are.
So I'm seeing it live over here. There's a delay.
That's what they say.
Oh.
All right. We are live now. Welcome to a slightly new recording of the You Call This Archaeology. This is the show where Richie and I typically talk about how our days in archaeology went for the past 7 days. Right, Richie?
Mm-hmm.
Let me go ahead and mute this because I'm not a dumbass.
So we had to meet twice.
Yes. We're getting used to this. We're doing a completely new setup. Right as we got used to the old setup, we're now getting used to a new setup. So feel free to, there's so many people. Tristan has commented, as the Archaeology Podcast Network, I think. I'm going to try to keep looking over here at my iPad, which is where we're monitoring the feed so you guys can answer questions. But we're going to try something slightly different today because I've kind of come up with an idea for a new show that I might debut publicly for the first time here.
Me?
At least the idea. And Brian Woods, my friend here, he will be possibly a co-host. So Brian, how's it going?
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
It's actually, it's really kind of neat to be here.
Sweet. Yeah. So we're at the Reno Collective, where we normally broadcast from, but we're just in a different room. And I want to explain what you're seeing here in the background just a little bit. It's all a little wonky, but we're in what would be the control room for a major recording studio that used to be here in Reno. It's still the building, everything's still here. It's just not a recording studio anymore. Now it's a co-working space. Behind me, right here, this glass windows, is what we call a 4-foot air gap. And that just, air is one of the best insulators when it comes to stuff like that, when it's contained like this, between this room and the main studio recording room back there. Now, you're just seeing a different view than you normally do if you've watched this show before. You're just seeing a different view than you normally do. We're normally on the other side of that room looking back this way. So there's the explanation on that.
Cool.
But let's get into the show and see what's going on. First, I would like to say I have the first 2 episodes of the audio edited. Richie's got all the video up on his YouTube channel.
I saw that and I was very impressed by it. Like,
Yeah.
yay.
I've got those 2 done. They're on the All Shows page for the APN if you want to go listen to that on the All Shows. You can subscribe to that on iTunes and wherever you get it. But also, as soon as I get a couple more of them edited, probably this weekend, then I'll do the submission to iTunes and you can subscribe and do all those things. So right now it's just on that.
I'll look up our t-shirt soon. I'm actually I'm conceiving it in my mind. It's getting closer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And this t-shirt's brand new. We'll have this t-shirt on the website for purchase here in a little bit, and there's one sitting right there. So Brian.
Sir.
What the hell do you do?
What? Well, recently, I'm a human resources intern. I'm a 40-year-old intern. Yeah,
I think I saw that movie.
I think I missed it by like 20 years, right? I think Robert De Niro has at least got like 20-something years on me.
Right.
Yeah, basically the exact same thing. Matter of fact, it was made glaringly obvious because I just went to Detroit for training. Yeah. And other interns were there. And the young lady that was sitting next to me, obviously you have to be in school to be in this program. So I'm going for my master's degree in human resources. Ooh. And so she's about to complete her degree in human resources. And for some reason she had like pulled her ID out or something, like we were doing information on the board. And she was born in 1994. I was married to my first wife in 1995, right? So it's like, it's really becoming obvious. Like my boss is 27, and I don't have a problem with that at all. She's actually just really smart and motivated and everything. But it's just the first time in my life where I'm the old guy at work, and I mean I know it's the gray hair and everything, but yeah. So that's where
this is the show is You Call This Archaeology, and this is actually a really good parallel because there are so many people. I mean, look, myself included. I mean, there are so many people that are. I guess I'm not a field tech technically anymore, but like one of the guys that got me into this, my friend Sean. Right, he's not an archaeologist anymore. He kind of does other things, but I mean, he was he turned 40 in his early 40s as a field technician in this field, working with people who were in their early 20s that just got out of college. And it's pretty common in this field to have a massive age difference, you know, in how people work.
Well, look at I'm not gonna say his last name. Look at Mr. Dave.
Oh yeah. Our friend Dave. We've talked about him before, and he's got to be in his
50s, 60s.
if not 60s maybe.
I mean,
is he just starting?
No. He's been doing this for a long time. Just some people choose not to. Some people are happy doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, they choose not to gain more responsibility or anything like that because honestly they're the smart ones because you get like a 50-cent raise in pay for $30,000 in debt and more responsibility. You know, so they're actually the intelligent ones here. But anyway, so to bring this around to archaeology a little bit, one of the things I wanted to talk about today, because one of the motivations I had for starting the Archaeology Podcast Network was to bring, you know, like our field and what we do and the reality of it to a general public. So when I say archaeology to you, certain things come to mind, not certain other things. So when I say archaeology to you, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, Brian?
Well, I mean,
just do it. Just do it. Get it out of the way.
Yeah, like Indiana Jones, right?
Right.
Because I was thinking about this too, though, because of my age.
Yeah.
Right? I was born and was the perfect age for Indiana Jones to have come out, you know, 5, 6, 7 years old. But he's not an archaeologist.
Right.
No.
Right? At all. He's a treasure hunter.
Yes.
Right? And murderer.
Yes. And a murderer.
But murder of Nazis, which now somehow seems a bad thing now.
That's, and some Middle Eastern people as well, I believe, you know, and some, maybe some indigenous people of Africa or wherever he was at the beginning there.
So many friends.
There's no no one else to look to.
Yeah.
Anyone else you look to, you stray further away from, I think, what I'm guessing reality is, just having met you.
Yeah.
And you go further and further into treasure hunting and then further and further into fantasy.
Right.
Yeah.
Because no treasure hunter actually ever finds anything anymore.
That's true.
Right? They have those TV shows, and if you order, like my father-in-law watches treasure hunter shows all the time, and I'm an asshole. So, and you know, I walk up and I'm like, you know, they don't find it, right? And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, that shit would have been on the news already. Like, you totally would have heard about this way before they released this for production on TV.
Yeah.
They probably would have stopped production. We're like, never mind. We don't need to sell this show.
Yeah.
We just found this crazy Nazi Germany submarine full of gold right. in Florida swamps.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And so he's like, shut up. I like watching it. And you know, so I let him. After I make those comments, I just keep doing it. But yeah, so there is nothing. I met you, and that's the only reason I have any.
Yeah.
Well, that having been in the Air Force, that we had to call in archaeologists every once in a while to go do cleanup of an area that want to blow up or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. But I would have had no other person to look to.
Right.
Oh my God.
There's not even like books in the library, I don't think, of just like archaeologist stuff. Like Frank Lloyd Wright, you know, architects have books where you could, hey, look what they did.
There's nobody you can point to that the general public would know. Right. Let's put it that way.
Belloc?
Right? No, not that French bastard. No, it's and you're totally right. You know, it's that is one of the biggest things that I'm trying to overcome. We need, and I say this all the time, we need a Neil deGrasse Tyson. And if you don't know who that is, you're living under a rock. But we need a Bill Nye the Science Guy. We need somebody, when you say, you know, when you say archaeology, you instantly think of this person. Now, plenty of archaeologists, when you say archaeology, they will think of their own people depending on what they do. They might say Binford, they might say Gordon Willey, they might say, you know, some of the greats that are in archaeology, but who the hell knows those names?
Yeah, not me.
No, not you. I barely know them.
With the frizzy hair on.
Oh, Jesus.
And I don't even know if he's on archaeology shows. He's the Ancient Aliens.
Oh my God. See, that's even worse.
So yeah, because, so I'm wrong. There is something to look to, and it's those shows.
Yeah.
Right? Ancient Aliens, where they'll have someone with archaeologist in the title.
True.
You know, and you're like, really?
And you know what's
like,
ironic?
Really? You went to school, right? Your degree's on the line when you're on these shows. As far as I'm concerned, like,
but
how much credibility are you giving the Mayan, whatever?
But you know what's weird about Ancient Aliens is they do employ actual archaeologists as researchers, because I actually knew one, and she was doing real research for like fake things.
But it's the way they spin it, though.
Yeah.
You know,
because they never have answers.
Yeah.
My whole life of watching like A&E shows, like life's greatest mystery is there's never an answer.
No.
Ever.
No.
Ever. So you just got to stop watching those shows.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah. So how do you make archaeology cool then? No, because that's what they've done.
Especially since the reality is so different than the fantasy.
I think personally, one of the things, if you just look at the other fields that have these people that have done these things, what is the one I would say two commonalities that they share? Let's just say Neil deGrasse Tyson or Bill Nye the Science Guy, is they had a TV show, and they could speak to the public in a way that didn't like speak down to them.
So Radio Lavish.
So Radio Lavish, yeah, and Radio Lab is pretty popular, right?
Right,
Yeah.
because
Now-
everyone can. They don't make you feel dumb.
Right, and like
Or Planet Money.
or Planet Money,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah, that's a great example.
99% Invisible is good with Roman Mars. I mean, these are just, but the people themselves in some of these cases, like I couldn't probably, I have to really think of a Planet Money like host, like what their name is. I want a name. I want a person that like symbolizes this field, and that's somebody that you can trust. So somebody that, when like right now, for example, there's in Houston, as we're recording this, if you happen to be, right, well. If we happen to be listening to, if you happen to be listening to this later at a later date, you know, this is if you're able to, so nobody in Houston's listening right now, but if you're able to listen to this at a later date, it's September 1st, 2017, as we're recording this, and there have been calls out from a couple of the larger engineering firms that can afford to do this for archaeologists to bring them down to Houston because there are cultural resources as well as all of the people and things that are displaced. We have to think of the place holistically, right? So there's cultural resources and archaeological sites that are in danger of being destroyed by floodwaters.
Oh, it's interesting. You remember, I'm not going to say her last name, but you remember Pam?
Yeah.
Yeah, that she spent years working on post Katrina, like excavations and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because these things are being destroyed by either floodwaters or, you know, as people are trying to drive around through the waters or bulldozers and stuff like that are doing cleanup, they don't know what's underneath, and it's all an emergency situation.
And no one cares.
No one cares because they're trying to save lives.
Right. That's
So
a priority, right?
Right, but as the floodwaters recede and these things are revealed, they want to have people in place to try to deal with this. But who have you ever heard that story in the media right now? We need somebody who's like, if Neil deGrasse Tyson were around, sure, he's approached now, right? He's approached to comment on things. When the eclipse happened, it's like his heyday, right? He's like,
of course.
He's approached for that. But early on, he had a publicist and he had a media kit and he had things like that. And he had himself as an expert because he has a PhD. He's running the Hayden Planetarium, all that stuff. And they would approach the news stations and say, listen, we have an expert for you to talk about this. And they love bringing on experts.
Sure.
They love it. So we need somebody in our field that, and here's the biggest problem with archaeology. We don't have anybody that wants to put themselves out there.
Right. What?
Everybody wants to be, you know, holed up in a lab or a trench somewhere just doing their business like a lot of scientists do. And they don't want to have any involvement with the public. They don't want to tell them. They're afraid of looters, all this other stuff. But we need somebody who's willing to put themselves in front of the camera, not in a cheesy way, and say, listen, I know about these things. Here's what's going on, and here's how you can help, or here's what you can do to not do to help, you know, stuff like that.
Almost like Tom King, sort of.
Well, and Tom King would be a good one, but I don't think he wants to put himself out in the public, you know, like that. I mean, he does write books, but Tom King's another one in our field that we all know that no one else knows.
Right. And so you have to have that.
Yeah.
You have to have someone that has actual credibility and knowledge. And this is America, so they also like have to be good looking.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. Honestly, if they're going to be on TV, you have to be at least somewhat attractive to someone.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Right? Or you don't. I mean, it'd be like when I was a kid, I used to think how unfair it was that everyone that could sing awesomely was also beautiful. I'm like, how do you get both? I have nothing, and you get both. And no, it turns out lots and lots of people can sing, but lots of people don't make it because they're not attractive enough.
Right.
Right? Because of how we market stuff or whatever, how we watch stuff.
True.
So that's the thing. You need everything you said, and
That's
someone that actually appeals to TV.
That's tough because there aren't any good-looking archaeologists. No, I'm not saying that. There are plenty.
So, or you have to Milli Vanilli it. Right? You have to find someone that's good looking and just feed them news bites or whatever. Hey, go say this.
Tell them they're an archaeologist and go on.
And you just have super fine.
Nice.
No, just a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Like Rachel Ray. She's not a chef.
No.
She's not a chef, and yet everyone believes her. So if she can do it,
I did not know she wasn't a chef.
Yeah.
I don't. She went to any formalized school or anything.
Well, it's like
You
Bill.
don't have to go to school to be a chef. Come on.
Well, it's like the way.
Get Blue Apron.
It's like the way Bill Nye, a science guy, is an engineer, and people keep pointing that out. It's like he's not a science guy. He's an engineer.
I mean, engineering's pretty much a science. You know.
Not
It's
according to some
funny.
of the conservatives I've heard.
Wow, that's true. That's true. I don't know. This is one of the reasons again why I want to try to put shows like this out there, and then the show that I want to do that I've talked to Brian about doing is really kind of modeled after Star Talk, Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast and TV show.
Oh, he's just getting sued over that, by the way.
But how? How did you even hear about that?
Oh, well, they pushed out one of the original creators of it and like cut him off before the TV deal.
So not like a content thing, just a
Right.
petty jealousy thing. Well, before we take a short break, I want to talk about this idea just real quick.
Yeah.
So Star Talk, if you're not aware of it, has typically I know the audio portion. I think they do this on the video portion too. They usually have Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
He usually has some kind of like comedian or somebody else that's
Really?
not in the field, as a co-host, and then sometimes on the TV version, the broadcast version, they've got another person on there that's like an expert. But they'll be commenting on interview that Neil deGrasse Tyson did between him and one other person. So they'll play a segment from that, and then they'll come back and comment on it.
Ooh.
And the reason it's cool, that I love it, is because it's funny, it's entertaining, but it also is really it's really informative. Because Neil deGrasse Tyson knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that he's usually got on there, the couple different guys that he uses, they're very science-minded. They're not scientists. They're comedians by trade.
But they have an interest in it.
But they have an interest in it. They're not
Yeah.
idiots. They're not...
And they're not openly hostile.
Right, they're not
Is
just
it?
making trailer park jokes all day in their comedy. They're doing smart comedy. They're doing...
So
you
you're
know,
already putting limits on. You're already putting limits on the show. Is what you're saying.
putting limits on it, yeah. So you have to be
worked with
this and
comedians
this.
before?
I know, right? Well, and I don't want to completely duplicate that show, but I do want to try to find a way to make presenting archaeological information entertaining.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just be me talking up there. I'm not entertaining. So I want it to be something. So that's the idea behind the show is to do a live show. We'll tape it. We'll put it on audio. We'll put video up too.
Yeah.
We might even live stream it if we're allowed, if we can. But it would be, myself as like the archaeologist host, basically. Brian as
Say expert. You know you want to say expert.
What I could be an expert in some things, but I want to call myself an expert in archaeology
So how are you going to market this if you don't have an expert? Like you
because
have
we're
to-
interviewing the experts. I can be the archaeologist. I can be the person that can ask the archaeological questions.
Okay.
And lead that conversation.
Gotcha.
I'll be an expert podcast interviewer. How about that?
Yeah.
Because there's not that
There
many
you
in
go.
archaeology.
As long as you have the word on there, and people
This expert.
people never finish read an article anyway, right? So they'll be like expert. All right, good.
Good.
They'll just stop and it'll be fine.
Done. Just to take the headline.
Yeah. So just as long as you have the word on there.
There you go.
It's just like Planet Money, where you've got the the Levitt dude who's the actual.
That's Freakonomics.
Yeah. Oh, Freakonomics. Darn it.
Freakonomics.
Isn't Ira Glass? Doesn't he do Planet Money?
No. You're thinking of.
Or is he doing This American?
It's like
This
he does
American
This
Life.
American Life, but yeah,
Yeah.
I thought some because they cross over sometimes.
a little bit, yeah,
True.
yeah. But anyway, that's somewhat the idea behind the show. Oh, that clock is moving.
Is it not?
Oh yeah, it is. Anyway, that's somewhat the idea behind the show, and it'll be an hour. It'll be live. It'll be somewhere here in Reno to start, and then we'll bring on an expert in one, because that's the thing with archaeology. People are experts in like a tiny sliver of the field, right? It's a tiny, tiny sliver. So we'll bring on an expert in Great Basin prehistory or something like that, and they'll be able to, we'll ask them questions. But the fact that Brian is there, he can add a little bit of levity to it, and also ask the questions that I wouldn't think of because it might be obvious to me.
Oh, kind of like the stuff like that would have like the average the viewer wants to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I try as a podcaster, I try to take that perspective a lot, but sometimes there's stuff that I'm probably just missing that's obvious to somebody, like, why didn't he ask that? And I'm like, why didn't you know that? Because I'm too close to it.
Yeah.
So, and that's how everybody would be with their own field. If Brian was a safety guy for a long time, if we were to have a conversation like that, I mean, he'd be thinking, why didn't you think about this? Why didn't you think? Because I don't know. I'm not a safety guy.
Well, it's like I was watching a video last night of Adam Savage. He got this super awesome 3D printed manual calculator that looks like a coffee grinder.
Nice.
And he was playing around with it, and everybody's like, you spent 10 minutes talking about this calculator, but you didn't do a calculation on it.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like the purpose. Can you demonstrate the purpose,
Yeah.
please?
Right.
Yes.
All right, so it's at about 20 minutes, and we like to take a short break every 20 minutes or so, just like the other shows. So I'll just make a quick plug real fast for the member site for Archaeology Podcast Network, arcpodnet.com/members, and check that out. We've got actually a handful of members on there now, and we finally, for our pro subscribers, they get after your first month, because there is a trial period. I'm not sending you a shirt and a coffee mug just to have you cancel right after I send it. But anyway, after the first month, these shirts just finally came in literally yesterday, so I'm shipping all this out tomorrow if you're hearing this on September 1st, 2017. This and the coffee mug, which we've shown before, plus the 11 or 12 stickers we have now for all the shows. So you'll get all that in a box if you're a pro subscriber on your second month. And you can cancel right after that. I don't care. But thanks for the support. Anyway.
And what about the Ellen Gold stuff?
And that stuff's coming too. So yeah, so for members, for pro subscribers, we also have learning content. That's really the biggest thing. That's why it's a professional subscription. So we're having people, I actually recorded, 2 things so far, and I'm doing another one here shortly, but the first one is it's a 20-minute, it's kind of an introduction to rock art, but a high-level professional introduction to rock art. And what rock art is, rock art recording, some techniques and stuff like that, intended for professionals by one of the premier rock art experts in the country, really, but definitely on the West Coast. It's Dr. Alan Garfinkel Gold. He started the California Rock Art Foundation. He did the documentary Talking Stone. He's got books on Coso rock art, which is the Central Eastern Mojave in California. So he's recorded the first one with a PowerPoint presentation with him recording. I'll finish that up this weekend, get that up for our pro subscribers, and they're the only ones that can see it. And then I did one with Matt Douglas. There's an episode of the Archaeology show coming out soon about the Artifact Roadshow that they do in Nebraska and surrounding states. And I'll just direct you to the Archaeology show, episode 25. Listen to that when it comes out in a few weeks, or if it's already out, if you're listening to this in the future. But also on the learning content side, I had him record about 20 minutes about actually how to set one of these things up. Like if you're an archaeologist and you want to set up this Artifact Roadshow, they call it, in your own community, here's the step-by-step process you need to actually do that. And that's going to be...
What is that?
Well, I'm not going to say it right here. Pro subscribers.
Oh.
The Artifact Roadshow, is that what you're asking what that is? They set this thing up in Nebraska. There's a lot of land that is privately owned.
Yeah.
A lot of land. There's a lot of agency land too, but there's a lot of land, and people collect projectile points, prehistoric stuff, arrowheads.
Oh.
The Artifact Roadshow is designed so people can bring stuff in. It can be identified. The archaeologists there will record what they find. They put it on just a flatbed glass scanner. They scan them on both sides.
Neat.
They're bringing out 3D laser scanners at some point, but they're scanning these things. They're recording all the information. They're getting what location information they can, and then they're increasing their knowledge of the archaeological record in their area. They might not know exactly where something came from, but if they can say it came from this county, even, it's better than what they had before.
And people get to know what their stuff is.
Right, exactly. They're not doing they're not valuing things at all. The people have shown up and said, "What's this worth?" You know, it's like, I'm not going to tell you that. Besides, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how to value that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a different show.
That's a different show entirely. Yeah.
You gotta go to the Pawn Stars after that. Right?
Yeah,
They
exactly.
said that this is this.
Yeah, totally.
Well, at least people would be going in with way more knowledge than if they just found it on the ground and walked in.
That's right.
They're like a $1.50, right?
That's right.
Oh, and one of the dudes who's on the show, one of the experts, is an archaeologist, right?
On,
the dude who's always at the NAAs. With the big straw hat.
Is he on Pawn Stars a lot?
Yeah. He's
Oh,
like
I didn't watch
the
that much.
expert. He's
Yeah,
like one
but
of the
he's
experts.
in their pocket, right? So that's not
Yeah,
fair. Like you
I
need to have your information before you
Right.
go in there. He's working for them.
I know, totally. So that's the end of the short commercial. Check the website for coffee mugs. I had to turn shipping on. I had free shipping turned on, but I had somebody pay $16 with free shipping for a coffee mug that cost me $9 to make, and the shipping was $12.75. So that means I'm a horrible businessman.
Yeah.
I lost many dollars on that.
Yeah.
Oh, where'd it go?
It went to Christian La Rosa in Georgia, South Carolina. Sorry, Christian.
That's
I don't
not
know where
even
you're at.
that far.
So just
That's on the other side of the country.
you count that as a training.
I thought you were gonna
Yeah,
say.
expense.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say you were sending it to Tristan or something.
No. I gotta send him one too, but I'm expecting that expense. I don't care for the pro subscribers. I'll send them wherever. But for the people that just buy one off the website, I have to figure out a price point that actually benefits the APN. You know, so I'm working on that. But they're really heavy coffee mugs. That's the thing. They're like 1.2, they're like 18 ounces. It's just over a pound. So they're really, really great. And we'll have a deal up where you can get a t-shirt and a coffee mug and get a discount on it or something. T-shirts are actually really cheap. It's a really high quality supplier here in town, but I only pay, I think it's again like $9.50 for the shirt.
Ooh.
So we're going to sell them for a markup so we can have shipping and stuff like that. I want to be totally transparent with all this.
I was going to say, isn't business rule number one, don't tell people what you bought it for?
But we're not in business. We're not in business to sell swag. We're in business to sell, to give people information about archaeology, and this helps get our message out. That's right.
Yeah, but there's one thing I've learned from Comic-Con. People love swag way more than they love content.
Well, there you go. So they can buy the swag, and I don't care how
I was
much.
there. I listened.
Yeah, that's right.
You need to have the "I was there live" shirts.
That's
like,
right.
I watched live.
I watched live.
With the
we'll do
date.
that. With the date.
With the
yeah,
date.
that's not hard to make at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, limited
All right.
edition.
So that's the end of that 7-minute commercial. 30-second break that turned into 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Brian, what you haven't lived in? How long have you lived in Nevada?
For 7 years.
7 years.
But
That's
I visited every year as a kid.
oh, because you have family here.
Right.
Yeah. So have you ever been? Because a lot of people that I know, and that we probably have some common friends on, that are like from here, legit from here for a long time, or maybe they're hunters or hikers or something like that, and they go out. They always find stuff. Have you ever found anything that you thought, prehistorically or historically, like some old thing that was cool, like a bottle, a can, or even like Native American related? Have you ever found anything like that just walking around?
Not. Well, okay, it was on accident because there was a new trail, but it was.
Yeah.
I've seen some, like rock etchings, they were
rock
identified
art?
and someone had already, put a plaque there and to explain what it was.
Oh, right,
And
right.
of course, I don't remember what it was now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've come up on stuff like that, but not so far like just on accident.
Yeah.
So, and I'm always taking pictures up though. Maybe I'm not looking down.
Right. So now answer this truthfully, and we won't crucify you for it. Not just because you're sitting next to two archaeologists, but if you were to find something small, and you're just walking in the desert, you're off trail because you can do that out in the BLM land, and you're just walking around and you find something, what would be your first what would you do? How would you approach that?
Oh, I was just put in my pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, of course.
eBay.
I found it. It's mine. I'm gonna check out this dope arrowhead I just found. That's going on my shelf, and I'm gonna point to it and tell people where I got it.
Nice.
The only thing I know about the desert, and this is only from having been a safety person around Fort Irwin and that area, is that the desert tortoise is like the deadliest animal out there.
Yeah.
Because you scare it and it dies, that's the end of your life or something. They have to.
Yeah.
So, like, I would leave a tortoise alone for sure. But everything after that is fair game.
See, I'm glad you said that, because that's incredibly interesting to me. In fact, a place like the Army, it's Fort Irwin Army, right?
Yeah.
Fort Irwin, because we were near there when I was at China Lake. Is that not on the other side of China Lake?
It's closer to Barstow.
Okay,
Right.
yeah. Either way,
Just out of Barstow.
Yeah.
so it's interesting that's your concept of it, because we had the same thing at China Lake when we were working down there at the Desert Tortoise. We only saw a handful of them when we were there, but we had to record their location. We had to not get near them, take a picture maybe, stay many feet away from them, go around them. It doesn't matter if there's the best archaeological site you've ever seen sitting under their feet. We have to move on, because that's their territory. But and it's the military and other agencies that are promoting this sort of attitude. It's like, be careful, be careful, be careful. But they don't make any mention of the archaeological remains, and how you should treat those.
I think
Not enough for it to stick in your brain like that.
Okay, so there's a difference between when I was in the Air Force. I was in civil engineering, so there were people, engineering assistants and archaeologist type people that would do their jobs or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have heard of the idea of not disturbing things or whatever, but there's a big difference between knowing that and like caring.
Right.
Right? I mean, I'm like, okay, so I understand that probably someone cares, but this is going to look really awesome in my house, right? And is someone going to do something? Like, I'm not even aware if there's a penalty for it. I knew in the military, like, hey, don't do it.
Right.
Okay, but now, I've been out for several years, so is there? I don't even know. I've seen, like, when you walk on trails, they'll tell you sometimes do not remove anything.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's mostly fine. Right? It depends on how many people are around. But honestly, unless it's some big, huge, obvious, hey, don't mess with that. You know what I mean? A little tiny arrowhead, I found it after thousands of years or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was meant to be.
Yeah.
God put that there for me, and now I'm taking it.
Plus, there's also a difference between, to your average person, between something that's living and don't hurt an animal, and something that's just like an inanimate object in the ground.
And that's only us, though, because several other people would go kick a tortoise, no problem.
Yeah. Or how many...
If they didn't know.
Yeah. Or how many sea creatures have died because people wanted to take selfies with it.
Right.
So there's lots of reasons why you wouldn't or shouldn't pick stuff up like that, and that's we harp on that in a lot of our podcasts. But again, I feel like we're preaching to the choir on most of our shows, right? They already know these things, and that's why we need these more publicly available shows. Because I guess the way I've taught myself to look at stuff like that, like you wouldn't, if your neighbor left a bunch of stuff out in their front yard, like you've got a kid, if you had a neighbor with kids of the same age, and one of them left something in the front yard, and your child went over to the front yard and picked that up, you'd say, no, that's not yours.
Right.
You teach her that this isn't your thing, put it back. It's not yours to play with without permission. I see artifacts in the exact same way.
Although there are plenty of terrible people. Like,
well, somebody would do that. They'd steal your bicycle out of your front yard. But we see those as criminals.
Yeah.
Right. But now, in this scenario, my neighbor existed thousands of years before me, and then my daughter went over there and was like, check out this toy that I found, and I'm like, they're all dead. So, you know what I mean? I get it, you have to find a way to reach people to your understanding of it, because or there has to be loss against it, and
Okay, so here's another example, and I've got this from when I lived in North Dakota. I had a girlfriend that she had her family lived on a ranch out in western North Dakota. I mean, really remote area. And on this ranch, as you're driving up to their house, which is at like the end of this longer road, before you get to the house her dad lives in, you get to the house her grandmother lives in, which her dad grew up in. Yeah. Before you get there,
North Dakota.
I know, right? But before you get to there, you get to this totally run-down, shitty house that nobody lives in anymore. That's what her grandmother and dad lived in before they built the new house for the grandmother. He was actually born and then placed in a warm wood stove because he was born in the winter in North Dakota. They shut the fire down and it was still warm, and they put him in there to keep him warm from dying overnight. No, they're not. Yeah.
See, we get all of the...
I know.
Everyone's talking about how we're cooking and eating babies.
I know, and they actually put him in the stove.
Here we go, he does it.
But here's the point. So nobody lives in that house anymore. There's plenty of stuff and trash and things like that around their property. Trash that archaeologists would call artifacts, because if it's over 50 years old, they're all artifacts. Okay. You happen to live next door, and by next door, I mean the property next door. You can see that house. You know they're dead. These are like great-grandparents. They're dead. They're not there anymore. But the rest of the family's just up the hill. They've never lived there. It's not their stuff. It's a couple generations back. Would you go pull stuff off that property?
It's still their land, right?
Of course it's still their land.
They're still alive.
They're still alive.
Yeah, so no, I'm not going to go get shot.
Okay. Well, and that's how, well, you're not going to get shot, but also ethically, even if you might take somebody's trash off, it might look like trash, and that's one thing. Right. But there's still going to be something in the back of your head that says, this is kind of somebody else's.
Sure, and I think it would mean, to me at least, it would be based on perceived value.
Yeah.
Is there a value to this stuff, or does it look like trash to me?
Right.
Like if it's a 100-year-old Pepsi bottle, I might think that's pretty neat, I guess. Yeah. But another person's like, oh, it's just, whatever, get out of the way, it's trash. So maybe perceived value, like if it was an old picture frame with a picture in it, you might be like, oh, valuable.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something to that.
There could be, and you're right. Value is a difficult thing to assess because we deal with that all the time on archaeological sites where we'll get to let's say a historic, early 20th century mine site out here or something, and all there is left is broken glass, right? So collectors or looters or somebody have come in and taken probably all the whole bottles, the unbroken ones, and those are now sitting on their mantle. They've been cleaned up. Yeah. And that's great. But still there's value to that to archaeologists because they wouldn't have taken the bottle bases. And the bottle bases to us contain the maker's mark, and other identifying information, because what's more valuable to us is to be able to place that site in context, to place it in history, and we can do that with bottle bases, but collectors can't.
Dude, I once remember going to update a site, and they got there, we all got there, and all the artifacts have been gathered up and put in, these are old cans and stuff, and put into plastic bags, and then, like, the Boy Scouts left, like, their name. It's like, you know,
trash cleanup.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, yeah, literally.
And I can't fault people for that. Yeah, I can't fault people for that. There's all kinds of trash cleanup things going around, and if they clean up, honestly, if somebody cleans up a site from the 1950s, I'm probably not going to cry that much over it, right? Like, I don't care. Ethically, we record anything over 1967 right now, older than that. So,
wow.
I know it's getting ridiculous. We're actually getting to the point where if we keep the 50-year rule,
Yeah.
we are going to be encountering stuff like we won't be seeing much information because people have started using trash dumps and they won't be dumping stuff in the desert. That's not entirely true because people still dump shit in the desert.
Right.
Although I was talking about this with an archaeologist in Barstow. He's like, yeah, but you know, if you may exclude like the stuff from the 60s and you're excluding super important stuff like from the early space race,
Right.
and stuff like that, like, you know, so you can't. So if you just suddenly say 50 years is too young, then suddenly you're excluding super important stuff that, you know, historically later we'll want back.
But aside from learning something about an individual person that may have lived there, like if we know exactly who that was, what are we going to learn that we can't learn from historical records that are actually really good right now? I mean, we have movies and TV and video and audio and books and pictures and everything from the 50s. What are we going to learn aside from, oh, that was, you know, Brian Woods' father that was there, not some random dude. You know, that would be important.
But imagine in 2050, everything from 2005 on, every thought of every person has been recorded on Facebook and Twitter and everything. So I don't know how good that is as far as data, but every, like, the attitudes of people and what was going on in the world is totally recorded for everyone. Right? Every North Korea, all Trump, everything is now preserved as long as the internet remains.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, once that goes away, now we got a problem, right?
Once that goes away, it'll be stored on CD-ROMs, CDs, and paper records at BLM offices.
Well, I don't think CDs are going to work very well either, because if the internet goes away, it's probably because all electronics have gone away.
That's true.
So you're going to be back to scrounging for newspapers.
I did just recently hear somebody say they read an article or they had direct experience. I can't remember what it was, but he said that people who had put all this backup data on CDs back in like the 90s, some of these CDs, they weren't. I don't know if CDs back then, if you could buy archival quality CDs.
Well, it depends, because originally when the CD format was first introduced, they were archival, but when manufacturers realized no one knew what that meant and didn't really care, they started cheapening their manufacturing processes.
Right. Well, what some people may not realize about a CD, and the reason a CD still works when it's completely scratched up, is because you're not actually burning on the plastic that's underneath. You're burning the foil that's on the inside of that plastic. So the label that you have, the underside of that label, that's the shiny part. Yeah. That's what's being burned into. It's not the actual plastic like a record. People think it's like a record a lot, and so the problem with that is these CDs, just because we're mentioning it, 20 years later, they pull them out of a drawer after not looking for it for very long, and that foil type stuff is completely fallen off and degraded and fallen away. It's completely
totally
gone.
worthless.
It's totally worthless.
So could you just, the foil itself is the data, right? That's what you're saying? So it's gone.
It's gone.
And how much data has been stored on cassettes? And I know in the 90s there was
zip discs.
Old tape from military records.
Yeah.
Tons of archaeologists use zip discs because they were cheap.
Yeah. Oh my God! I just saw one of those when I was at a BLM office lately.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, now hipster archaeologists would be like, I don't use the internet, and so they'll just have rooms full of records.
Right.
Boxes, like I'm imagining, like cardboard boxes. And stuff like that. I don't know.
That's what they are. So we're at our second break, but we're not going to take it. I'm just going to note that we've been talking about doing this at a different time because maybe 3 p.m. the Friday before the last 3-day weekend isn't the best time to have a podcast because we have like 0 comments.
Really?
So comment if you want. We've had a fluctuating number of viewers, and we're just trying to find a good time to do this. 3 p.m. on a Friday worked out well for us.
Yeah.
But if we want to try to have audience engagement, we need to figure out a better time. So if you are listening to this at a later time, tell us when you'd like to hear it.
Yeah.
Comment wherever you saw it on Facebook or on the APN page or on Richie's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Comment wherever you see this and tell us what time you would like to, if you were to tune in live, when would a good time for that be?
Yeah.
I'm trying to avoid Saturday mornings like Richie mentioned because, well, cartoons. No, I need to leave some days available to where I don't have anything scheduled or I will get divorced.
And divorce lawyers are expensive.
And what? Yeah, divorce lawyers are, well, not in Reno. I think you just go to the right slot machine and...
Depends on your current assets.
That's right. So Brian, what can we do? What could we do? Just like I just asked the audience for advice. What do you think archaeologists could do to help educate the public better? What kind of way? What kind of things? I mean, it's hard to say exactly what we would tell you because we don't even know. But
Yeah.
what would resonate? Do you think with people? And to let them know, hey, take a picture with your smartphone, pick up the arrowhead, take a picture, but then put it back down. Why put it back down? What can we tell you to make you put it back down and not put it in your pocket? It's a tough question.
It is because again, some people are shitty, just in their core, right?
Yeah.
Me apparently.
Well, it's true.
So again, I guess I'm projecting out on everyone that's not an archaeologist, right? So that's not really fair. There's probably people way cooler and more ethical, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe some sort of a reward system for turning it in,
Mm-hmm.
or like proving that I don't know how you prove you left something alone, or like you have to make it fun, you have to make it rewarding somehow to leave it there.
Gamification,
right?
That's interesting.
Or like, hey, could you at least make this a new geolocation or something, or geocache? I don't know. You would have to make it rewarding and more rewarding than taking it home.
Yeah.
Right? That's the urge you're fighting right there is, ooh, I found something really cool and unique and I'm going to have a story to tell after this from now on, until I meet an archaeologist and I guess I'll mount me. So whatever you want to change as far as behavior, it's going to have to be more rewarding in a fun way than that feeling.
Right.
I don't know how you get to that.
Well,
that was the limit of my knowledge right there.
No, that's
Human
perfect.
behavior.
Yeah.
That's perfect because you added one more layer to something I've been talking about for years now, and it's when I first found out about what the UK calls the Portable Antiquities scheme, and it's basically a system, and it's morphed and changed over the years, so I might get this wrong. If somebody's listening to it, feel free to correct me, but it's essentially everything, as far as I know, that is subsurface in the UK is owned by the Crown.
Okay.
Just that's how it works.
It's their land.
It's their land. It's owned by the Crown. You pull it up, it's owned by the Crown.
Right.
So, and there's also a really strong metal detecting community out there. And what do metal detectors find? They find gold hoards and things like that. We don't have that kind of shit over here. We probably
Like
do someplace.
pagan Viking
Like
stashes.
Roman stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody that they find that kind of those coins and things like that all the time. So, so metal detecting is actually pretty big out there. But for other types of artifacts and things like that, because they have prehistory going back, tens and tens of thousands of years, right? So
Viking
you can't.
raids and whatnot.
Yeah, you can't drop a shovel in the ground without finding something. So the portable antiquities scheme is designed for you to relatively anonymously take pictures and upload data to this site. So then the national system will now know about it because it's a national system, and they'll know of its existence. They'll know where it was at. At least the data is not lost. I'm not sure how they tell you didn't just keep it after you recorded it. I'm not sure how they tell that.
Go look, and if it's not there, they start then
Right.
go look at you right then.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking we need an app for archaeology here in this country or other countries, wherever we can make this work.
Yeah.
We need an app. Some of the impediments to creating this app for basically, the basics of it are you find it geolocates, so it knows where you're at, but you can turn that off if you're concerned that it's on your land, if it is private land.
Yeah.
You can turn off geolocation just like you can in any other application. So, but ordinarily though, it automatically geolocates. It prompts you for the pictures, like you say what kind of thing you have, and it says, okay, we need a picture of this, 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 and this. You can leave any kind of description about environmental setting if you want, or whatever stuff you want to put in. And then And then the two kind of impediments to making this actually work, though, are where does that data go after that? Like, somebody has to manage that. And if I hand the BLM, a zip file full of thousands of artifacts people have found, their heads are going to explode. They don't have the time for it, right?
Yeah.
So you need some way to automate the processing of all that data so that it happens naturally. You can give it to agencies, give it to the state, and they just incorporate it into their existing framework. But the other thing has been why? Why would anybody do that? Why would anybody participate in this? Aside from people just want to have fun, why wouldn't they put it in their pocket?
Right.
So you combine this with geocaching, which is exactly what you just said. Essentially, you gamify it. Now you can take it a step farther and get sponsors, and they could even be like, honestly, almost even like cash prizes and
Right.
things like that people can get. It's like the more points you get from leaving something intact and reporting things, the better. And you get more points if someone else finds it again and records it again.
Oh, so it's a pyramid scheme.
Pretty much, totally a pyramid scheme.
You have to get all
Yeah.
this, hey, go look at my find. It's still
Right.
there. Go check on it.
So you're incentivized to leave it there because if somebody else records your same find,
Right.
they get points. They'll get like the 5 points. You'll get 10 points. Somebody else finds it again. You'll get 10 points again, and then they'll get 10 points, and
Right.
then the person who found it will get
So
5.
you're using like social pressure to keep
Yes.
it there.
Yes.
So yeah, that makes sense. You have to, you make it more rewarding, perhaps emotionally because they found it,
Right.
and then you pay them perhaps one way or another. Maybe it's not money. Maybe it doesn't need to be money. Maybe it's just points. Like you said, depends on the people, I guess.
Yeah.
But maybe it is money, because there has to be some value more
Well,
than taking it.
Maybe. I mean, there's no rewards in geocaching if anybody's done that.
True.
I get the satisfaction of saying, oh, I found it. When I feel like shit when 100 other people and somebody like yesterday found this geocache and I can't find it at all. I'm like, man, I am such a dumbass. My reward is finding it and hitting log this geocache.
Right.
Now
But
the
you're
problem.
preloaded with archaeology,
I am.
right? So
Yeah.
not everyone else in this app is.
That's true. But that's the other thing the app would provide too is education. You don't have to read it. You can click past those screens. But if you want it, here's information. But I think with geocaching, real quick, is or at least with the app, the one problem we'd run into is for someone to get points or whatever the currency is to know that you left it there. That's the social pressure to leave it there. Somebody else comes by and then you get more points.
Right.
That means the locations have to be either reported or stored within the application, so you don't actually see the locations. But if you find something and you try to log it, and it's within like 50 meters because of the accuracy of phones and stuff, it's within like 50 meters of something that was recorded. You say, "Hey, this was recorded right here. Is this the same thing you have?" And then you get that. Because I wouldn't want just a list of artifacts and coordinates to be able to be printed out from this thing. Because shitty people, you, would actually go out and just take all these things and steal them.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Thanks for providing me exactly where this is.
Yeah, exactly.
GTA for life, right? Yeah.
well, or you could approach it from like just having more respect for Native American culture. Just like I've read some of these looting magazines. They actually have looting magazines.
Have you met
Yeah.
Have you met younger, the people that are going to use this app?
I know. We're combating the 5 or 10% of people that would actually go out and look for these things that are just super shitty. And they don't have any respect for anyone.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the oh my god, it's like at the bookstore we have an event after our warehouse sale where teachers and nonprofits can come in and get as many books from our warehouse sale for free as they like. And this mother and daughter came in, and the daughter tried to steal $100 worth of books while her mom was in the warehouse getting a whole bunch of books for her nonprofit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Non-profit on eBay.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, oh my god. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm familiar. Reno's taught me much about terrible people.
Right. Well, to move it away from terrible people from here, we have some good people that have joined. I just want to call them out here. Andy Richard, Kristen Bastis, who is a sometime host of the. She hosts occasionally the Women in Archaeology podcast. She's a co-host on that.
Oh, then I probably heard her.
Yeah. I can't remember how long she's been on, but she's been on before. And then Nathan, and I always pronounce his name wrong, Deganji. He's, I think that's right. He's here at the Reno Collective, so that's cool.
Is?
And I won't mention the other guy. No, I'll say it, Mike Henderson. He's probably just working anyway. So I'm surprised we haven't seen Mike. We may have, back here in the windows.
Oh, it's
Surprised we haven't seen him. So we'll see it on the replay. But, all right, so we got about 10 minutes left. Brian, I don't know if either of us really expected what to happen in this interview. We just kind of pulled it out of our ass and said, "Hey, Brian, come show up on Friday because you have the day off."
Yeah.
What do you? I guess what's your sense after talking about archaeology like this? Have we jogged anything in your mind? Have we said given you cause to think about anything differently or?
Well, yeah, I'm like, so there's all this stuff out there.
Now you're going for a hike tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, I'm always trying to be hiking too.
That's right.
But here's the good thing though, is I've been hiking this whole time and I've never found anything. So all that stuff is safe.
That's why they say you to stay on trail.
So like you need to somehow find a way to block me from the app, right? Like,
that's true.
Like you need to prove your intent somehow.
Yeah. I don't think hikers generally find much to begin with, quite frankly, because they're on trail. They're on areas that have either been cleaned or cleared or already looted or already collected.
Well, and here's I apologize, but maybe you've got okay. So you're just bringing something else in my mind. A lot of hikers, backpackers, or whatnot, are good people.
Yeah.
Like you meet them, they will share stuff with you, or they'll talk to you, or whatever. At least the ones I've met. So maybe there's less to worry about as far as shitty people going out stealing stuff. Because one, you have to have the motivation to get way out there in the first place. Yeah. Right, and maybe shitty people don't have that much energy. I don't know. Depends on the value, on the perceived value of the thing, right? So maybe there's less to worry about, and I'm just projecting again my dark side of.
In my experience, the people that find stuff, especially here in like Nevada and places like this, is it's people that are off trail, which are typically people that are hunters, because they're not following a trail, they're just out walking in the landscape, and that's where we find the stuff that's been untouched for thousands of years.
And they're also
like
people,
ranchers.
And they're also people who have to know what they're looking for. Because I remember when I was taking intro to archaeology class, we went on a class field trip, and our professor took us to this site, and it was right on a trail. Like you literally wouldn't know what you were looking at unless you were studying archaeology.
Right. And sometimes in those areas, archaeologists don't know what they're looking at, and they try to say that they're not sites when they really are.
True.
Well, we won't talk about that, will we, Richard?
True. Because we don't have 3 o'clock eyes right now.
So if that's your demographic, though, if it's hunters, then you find this something rewarding to hunters.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of hunting in Nevada is done by lottery.
Really?
Sure.
What if?
Oh, I didn't know that.
What if somehow by logging all of this stuff, you have better odds or more tickets in that lottery? You have to make something rewarding to that market.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you find out who is finding all this data, and then find a reward to them, to what they like to do.
And maybe we can expand that and say, when you first log into the app, and then you can go into your settings and change this. You decide where your good deeds are going to. Is it going to your Nevada State Hunting Lottery, points or whatever? What I'm thinking of is the app Charity Miles. Have you ever heard of that? I actually used it for a little bit, then I forget it exists. It's basically, they've had wealthy people basically do matching. It's not even matching, but they've sponsored a certain amount of money. So you're supposed to turn it on when you go running. So if you go running and you run like 3 miles, for every mile, X number of dollars will be sent to a charity that you chose within the application.
So that's this generation's jogging for quarters.
Yeah.
Didn't you have that in school, in elementary school?
I vaguely remember something like that.
You go bug all of your neighbors, and you'd be like, will you sponsor me to run? I was a fat kid, right? So like my 4 laps, and they were like, I'll give you a quarter. I was like, I said 4 laps.
4 laps.
You didn't give me more than a quarter. Come on. Right?
Yeah.
Throw a 10,
Yeah.
sponsor me for $10 a lap. I promise I'm going to go down in the 5th. Like, it's no problem.
God, I
so
remember
that's
that now,
basically
yeah.
what that is.
Essentially, yeah.
That's this generation's version of, hey, I'm going to go run laps around a track somewhere, and you pay me.
Exactly.
And it goes to this thing, this function.
Right.
Or selling, if you don't do that, I have to sell candy bars.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Right?
Yeah. No, I seem to remember something about bidding for laps on the track or something like that. I vaguely remember, probably because I was a fat kid then and I'm a fat kid now and I blocked it all out. But no, that's what I'm thinking. If we had different avenues within the application to where your good deeds could go. Some people are really just good people. They just want to learn and see stuff. And if they happen across something and they have the app, you always run into the problem. We're making people more hyper aware of these things existing because we created and promoted the app.
Right.
So it's kind of like, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. It's a developing idea. No pun intended. I'm surrounded by developers that could actually develop this idea. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to think about it. Every time I talk about this with somebody, some other good idea comes around for how to make it actually work and make it better.
So the problem is every time you record your ideas live, someone else out there might be working on it.
Listen, I hope somebody works on this because I don't think it would make any money for anybody, quite frankly, because of the charity nature of it. If somebody were to profit from this app, that's just as bad as putting shit in your pocket.
What if it was just like a fraction of a penny? Like an office space.
Well, I was just going to say, we're not...
you're just...
we just do it a couple of million times.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you assume that the people behind Patreon must be making money.
Yeah, but they charge a service fee, though, and you know that's happening.
True.
You don't need to charge a service fee for the app.
Wow.
It's like Superman 3. No, it's yeah, I don't know what the answer is. But I've got so many things on my plate. I'd be more than happy if somebody wrote down everything I just said and that we all just came up with and made this application, and I could download it to my phone next week. Even though, ironically, I don't think I've ever found anything like when I wasn't working.
Right, not on purpose.
Right.
Oh.
So, when you're doing survey, your eyes are on the ground the whole time.
True.
And you're paying attention to that stuff. You're like, it's a common phenomenon that you have to train your eyes.
Yeah.
When you first get out there, if you haven't worked in a while, it's the beginning of the field season. You haven't been out there. You really have to reformat your brain to look for these shapes.
But then
It's
they're
like
just
being a safety person.
Yeah.
You have to be looking with intent.
Right.
Right? I'm looking for these things.
Yeah.
Or like a photographer.
Yeah.
They're looking for a specific thing.
Right.
Or
you're
the
hyper-aware.
right moment or whatever,
Right.
right? Yeah, so looking with intent.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although some people are just magical. Like a buddy of mine was at the Reagan Library, and she was walking the parking lot, and she found like an artifact on the ground. And she's just one of those people.
Nice. Near the Reagan Library?
Yeah.
Where is that?
It's in he was near his ranch in Southern California.
Oh, okay.
So what did you do with it?
Oh, she just left it there. She worked for the Forest Service.
So somebody else picked it up.
No, I mean she just left it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the danger. That's the danger I look at is if I were to find something, I would almost be half tempted to pick it up because I know that I'm either gonna use it as a teaching device, I'm gonna learn something from it, I'm gonna do something. Shut up. And I'm going to. But somebody else is just gonna profit from it. Damn it.
Or
Wait, I've been in your library.
yeah.
I've got things people made for me.
Oh, same here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
or alternatively, you could bury it, and then someone could have to go find it again so they can take a photo of it because
Oh
someone.
my god, we're not talking about that. No, there's a couple pieces of ceramic that you probably saw on my bookshelf. That the projectile points, all the stone stuff I have, most of those were made by a friend of mine, Luke Schrader. He's actually in Northern California. He's a great flint napper.
Yeah.
See, look, like how I was going to accuse you and it turned into like a plug for someone else.
I know, right? Yeah.
That was
I wish he sold his
intentional.
things.
That was intentional.
He could sell his stuff easy.
Yeah.
Anyway, as we're wrapping up here, we'll probably actually flip the screen.
Yeah.
Anyway, Luke, there is one thing that I have quote looted off an archaeology site,
You want to
Really?
record this on?
and I do want to record this on it because I think I've talked about it before. Because I don't think an all or nothing policy for anything is good for anyone. Okay?
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Anybody that says they believe 100% this way or 0% this way, this is why this is why we're atheists.
Sure.
I mean,
got you.
I just don't buy it. Anyway, we're doing this excavation in North Carolina. It's on the Cape Fear River. It's now a golf course and a housing development. Okay, so we found these huge areas. We did these massive block excavations where we pulled out tens of thousands of pottery sherds. I mean, literally tens of thousands. We were leaving them in the walls. We didn't even expand the units. We only expanded them if we found what we call features. Things that would help tell the story. The artifacts, they're just littered everywhere. We didn't even. Literally left them in the walls. So I was sent out there, as there's always somebody that's sent out just in case, to monitor basically the backhoe filling these things in. And they only fill them in because kids and people come out there, so they didn't want to be a danger, right? So I'm standing there. We're taking a break with the backhoe operator. It's just the two of us out there, and he sees like this pottery sitting in these walls about to fall out. And I was like, "Yeah, just take it." So you can have it. And I took
Really?
one too. I think I took 2 of them because there were a couple different
So you
examples.
made him complicit, so you felt a little
Right.
less
I
about
felt
it.
good. Yeah.
That's a good.
Nothing was really making me feel good about myself that day because he insisted on having lunch with me every day I was out there at Golden Corral. So I was already feeling shitty. But it was, which I think clouded my judgment. Like the Golden
Sure.
Corral, just like clientele and then the
Yeah.
food, like it just made me feel shitty. But
Yeah.
anyway, so we took those things, but it's now a golf course. I mean, it was all destroyed. It was all destroyed. That sand was pulled out of there and,
Oh, was
and
it?
used for development and things elsewhere, or put in a like the highway takes those things and uses them in road construction and stuff.
Oh my god, that makes
Yeah.
me think of the Bay Area. Like almost all the freeways cut through burial mounds, and what they took out,
Yeah.
they used as the paving, like the base of the freeway. So you're literally
Nice.
driving over dead people.
Energy never dies.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
We're just
Converts.
transforming you into something better.
We always bring it back to Bill Nye. That's right, Bill Nye the Science Guy. All right, so that's it for today's show.
Yeah.
For the Facebook audience, hey, David Field joined right at the last minute.
Oh,
Thanks,
yeah.
David. Nice to see you. Welcome back from wherever the hell you were on the other side of the world.
Oh.
Unless you're still over there, I have
Yeah.
no idea. But anyway, so for the Facebook audience, thanks.
Yeah.
Leave your comments below. You can leave your comments if you're watching this just for a little bit of education if you watch this whole thing. Because I was talking, I think, to Richie or maybe somebody that didn't
Yeah.
know this. If you leave comments during the video while it's being recorded live,
Oh, that was me.
yes, then those comments will show up as somebody else is watching the video on Facebook recorded. They'll show
Yeah,
up
at
at the
the
right
time.
at the
Yes.
time. If
Yeah.
you've got the video full screen. Otherwise, you can just see all the comments down below.
Oh.
Now, if you comment while the video's while you're watching the recording, it shows
Yeah.
like a little red dot or something next to your comment that says this wasn't left during the live recording. It separates those, but it's still left in time, so you can do that. So you can comment on specific things that we have to say even after we're done recording the video,
Yeah.
and then we'll know what you're commenting on. So that's for the Facebook audience. And again, comment and let us know when the best time to watch. When would you watch this live? Because we want people to interact, and we had a couple of really good shows where people had good questions.
Oh, and more importantly, do you enjoy this new set? Because I feel like we should record in here all the time because I'm not hot and sweaty at the end.
I know, and we might reformat, reorganize a little bit because the lights are glaring off these windows. I love the way this couch was set in this little thing here,
True,
but
we might have to sit at the table.
we might have to sit at. We'll do something.
Yeah.
So yeah, send us some comments for the podcast network, the audio audience.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. And
Or the
same
video
thing.
audience.
You need a 360 VR camera.
I know, right?
Yes,
Nobody
it
wants to
is.
see the
It
backside
will.
of this room.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah,
Once it's good.
I know.
Yeah.
Or put a screen around, in a circle and then just have it there.
Oh,
Maybe
man,
we could
or-
be broadcasting from underwater,
Oh, yeah.
space,
That'd be pretty sweet.
right? A dig
The
site.
green screen all the way around.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look
my
at it.
God.
This is why you had me as a guest,
I
not
know.
just for my good looks and comedy.
We needed somebody with good looks.
Ooh, but I'd love to be filming and then, like, have the them 3D printing something back there.
Nice. Well, that'd just be noisy.
Oh, they're noisy?
Yeah, they're not quiet.
Oh,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah, but
Well,
But that
they
would be
might
kinda
enjoy
neat.
this. They might enjoy
Yeah.
seeing us, like, shout at each other.
anyway, wherever you saw this, please give it a share and a subscribe so other people
Yeah.
can do it, can see it.
Yeah.
Because we had some good info in this one, and
Yeah.
the whole point of this is for you to share this with people that aren't drinking the Kool-Aid, because all
Yeah.
you bastards that watch this are drinking the Kool-Aid right now.
So where can they find audio podcast?
They can find it at arcpodnet.com/YCTA. And at some point in the future, I keep saying next week, but next week keeps getting pushed off a week, you'll be able to subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Music. So, but at the very least, the episodes are starting to go out on the All Shows feed. If you just search Archaeology Podcast Network on any one of those services and then look for the All Shows feed associated with that, every show we put out goes on that, and I'm putting it out on that.
I noticed that.
Yeah, and it is on its own page on the Archaeology Podcast Network,
Oh,
like
really?
I just mentioned. Yeah, the edited ones are, but I just haven't shared that feed with iTunes yet.
Oh, because I was
So-
looking for it. I just saw it on the all feeds thing.
Yeah, well, that's where you can find it on subscription, but if you go to arcpodnet.com, I actually placed it right on the homepage, and you can click on it and go to our page. So
Alrighty.
they won't be up there forever. That's just for new shows. I leave them up there for a little while, and then I put them back down in the list. So anyway,
Oh, and before I forget,
that's
if you
right.
go to YouTube, search Happy Archaeology Fun Time. Don't forget to type out the whole thing, because there's like, if you type out 3 words, you'll get a completely different thing. Or 2
Because
words.
there's like Happy Sock Archaeology, there's Happy Archaeology.
surprised.
You know.
You literally would be surprised.
Nice. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got it. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Buy
Hope I
t-shirts.
didn't kill your viewership.
I know we had like 50 last week, but no, there's 5. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.